You felt it this morning, maybe in the shower, maybe stepping outside. A chill crossed your skin, and then your arm looked different. Tiny bumps, hundreds of them, gone in seconds. You didn't think twice. You've had goosebumps thousands of times in your life. You've never actually asked what they're for. Because here is what I need you to sit with. If goosebumps are a cold response, why do you get them from a song? Why from something beautiful? Why when someone says exactly the right thing at exactly the right moment? Hold that. Here is what most people believe. You get cold. Your skin reacts, goosebumps appear, temperature in, bumps out. Done. That is what you were taught, probably in a science class, probably without much elaboration. And it is not wrong. It is just a third of the story. The scientific name is cutis anserina, Latin for goose skin. Doctors have used it for centuries because the texture matches a plucked goose almost exactly. Each bump comes from a tiny muscle called the erector pili 1, attaches to every single hair on your body. When something trips your nervous system, those muscles contract. The hair stands, the skin puckers around it, the bump appears automatic. Involuntary, you can't stop it. Your brain does this to you. The question is why. Here is the first piece. Goosebumps show up across the animal kingdom. Cats, dogs, mice, porcupines, birds. When a cat is threatened, its fur stands on end. The animal looks larger, more dangerous. That is the original job of the erector pili, make you look bigger when danger is close. Now here is the problem. Humans are almost hairless. Compared to our evolutionary ancestors, compared to the animals around us, we have almost no body hair. When your arm hairs stand up, you don't look bigger, you don't look threatening, you just look cold. The muscle still fires, the outcome does nothing. This is called a vestigial response, a biological action that outlasted its purpose, like the appendix. Except scientists are now finding it is not quite vestigial, because goosebumps don't only fire for cold and danger, they fire for something else. Researchers call it frisson, F-R-I-S-S-O-N, a French word for shiver. It describes something specific, the chill that moves through you when music hits a certain peak, when a story turns in a way you didn't see coming, when you watch something that feels larger than ordinary experience. Frisson produces real, measurable goosebumps, not from cold, not from threat, from something happening inside your mind. That is the piece that changes the picture. Scientists at the University of North Carolina studied this directly. They played music to volunteers and tracked skin response, measuring exactly when bumps appeared. The pattern was consistent. Goosebumps spiked at moments of sudden change when sparse sound filled out, when a lone voice was joined by a choir, when the key shifted, when something unexpected broke through. The brain wasn't reacting to beauty, it was reacting to surprise, to the gap between what it predicted and what actually arrived. Your brain runs a constant prediction model, projecting what comes next every second. When that model is wrong, when something exceeds what it expected, the nervous system fires, and the bumps appear. So goosebumps aren't about temperature. They're your brain registering that something exceeded its model. Something past the edge of prediction. Something that briefly overwhelmed what it thought it knew. Here is the piece most people miss. Not everyone gets this. Studies suggest only 55 to 65% of people experience emotional goosebumps at all. Some people never get them from music, never from a film, never from a speech. And those who do tend to share one specific trait. The trait is openness, not as a personality description, as a measured psychological dimension. People who score high in openness to experience are significantly more likely to feel frisson. They tend to engage deeply with abstract ideas. They process emotional information more intensely, and their brains tend to be built differently. Researchers at USC found that people who experience music chills have more nerve fibers connecting the auditory cortex to the regions that process emotion. Their brains are literally more wired to turn sound into feeling, which means goosebumps aren't just a reaction to music. They're a window into how your brain is put together. Now connect this back to cold. When you step outside in winter, your nervous system fires. When you hear the right 12 seconds of a song, your nervous system fires. Same muscle, same bumps, two completely different systems triggering them. One is physical. One isn't. One is old survival biology. The other is something the brain developed on its own. Here's where it lands. Goosebumps evolved as a survival signal. Stand up, look bigger, signal danger. In humans, the hair is gone, the survival purpose is gone, but the nervous system pathway stayed. And that pathway, the one that once fired for threats, got used for something else. When your brain encounters something that exceeds its model, something more unexpected, more vast, more emotionally dense than it prepared for, it treats that as a kind of shock. The old signal that meant threat, prepare now, means something closer to, something real is happening. Pay attention. Your goosebumps are your nervous system flagging a moment. Not dangerous, just worth marking. Samey hardware. New function, not vestigial, just repurposed. Now go back to the question from the start. Why do you get goosebumps from a song? Because you are not reacting to the song. You are reacting to the gap. The gap between what your brain predicted and what it actually got. Between ordinary and something beyond ordinary. When a piece of music hits an unexpected harmonic shift, your brain's prediction breaks for a fraction of a second. In that gap, the nervous system fires. The muscles contract. The bumps appear, your body marking that exact moment. This wasn't what I expected. That is not a glitch. It is not evolutionary noise. It is your nervous system responding to a kind of beauty your ancestors couldn't have anticipated, a beauty that didn't exist when these muscles first evolved, and your body found a way to register it. Using the same hardware it once used to face down predators. Every time you get goosebumps from music, your brain is telling you something. This moment passed the threshold. This moment exceeded prediction. Pay attention to which songs do it, not which songs you like, not which ones you play on repeat. Which songs, cause that involuntary chill. Those songs are showing you where your nervous system draws the line between ordinary and overwhelming. And if you rarely or never feel it, that is worth knowing too. It doesn't mean you feel less. It may mean the wiring between your auditory cortex and your emotional centers runs a different way. Not worse, different. The people who feel it most intensely often feel most intensely in general, moved easily, overwhelmed readily. Your goosebumps are a map of your nervous system. Most people never read the map. Case file closed. The next one is already open. You do something every morning, something you've done tens of thousands of times, feels completely automatic. And the version you are doing today is less than 200 years old. The version before it would stop you cold. Case file coming soon. Before you close this, one question. What was the last thing that gave you real goosebumps? Not from cold. From something that mattered. That answer will tell you more about your mind than you expect. Leave it below. I read every one.